Rocks here in Lone Hill, Johannesburg, and it is the ultimate selfie fun. I have my phone in my hand, ready to take some cool selfies, but before we do, here's what we have for you on today's show. We visit the Cameroonian capital of Yaoundé and see it through the eyes of a local resident. Then it's off to Cape Town to meet a man bringing the health benefits of miso making to Africa. And we take a look at some inspired decor and woven furniture designs by a Malawian collective. I am Zimi Ngwanapagate Mabunzi and you're watching AfriMax.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Citi News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. My name is Salom Adunu. Tonight I'm here with
Hawa Idrisu Mustafa.
Coming up over the next 90 minutes, Finance Minister sues 2 police officers suspected to be national security operatives who led what he calls a raid on his home about a month ago. Also on Eyewitness News tonight, we will look at how the Greater Accra Minister is leading the demolition of some structures around the Greater Accra Ramsar site. The news is available on our partner stations across the country and, of course, on Citi Newsroom.com. And in business,
Economic watchers warn productivity gap between formal and informal sectors could hinder growth.
there is more business in the next 50 minutes. Eyewitness News is live across the country on all affiliate stations around the globe at citinewsroom.com. We go to our very first story where the former finance minister Ken Oforiatta has filed a lawsuit against DSP Bismarck Boachi Ansa and Chief Inspector Mensa, also known as Sir Mensa, for trespassing and violating his right to privacy. The lawsuit follows an incident on Tuesday, February 11, when a group of individuals, including some military and police persons in uniforms, allegedly raided his residence in Cantonment. At the time of the incident, the minister was reportedly out of the country, while some family members, including his wife, were present. Let's speak to one of the lawyers for Frank Davis, for the former finance minister, Frank Davis, on this. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. Hello, good evening, sir. Hello, good evening, sir. We do not have Frank Davis on the line. We will come to him in a bit, but a copy of the rate we have before us is titled Kenneth Nanaya Oforiatta versus DSP Bismarck Boachi Ansa. Well, we have Frank Davis on the line. Hello, good evening, Frank. Welcome to Eyewitness News.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening. And
yes, we have in our very well. We have in our possession a copy of the rate filed by Kenneth Nanaya Oforiatta in respect of what he calls trespass and a few other things on his residence. Can you talk to us exactly what his reliefs are in this matter?
I mean, essentially, if you are in possession of the copy of the read, you know essentially what the former finance minister is seeking. It's essentially a trespass-free action on his property and an intrusion of his privacy and property rights. Yeah. So, and also seeking damages for what has been occasioned. Yeah.
I see that there are 2 key persons involved in this, but I mean, some of the pictures we saw before, soon after the event, also suggested that there were some other persons who are now public persons we know. For example, the Mr. Jakpa was in those pictures we saw. Is there any particular reason why he is not included in this, just for purposes of those who may be asking?
The client chooses the persons he wants to constitute an action against in court. So for now, that is what the client has chosen to do. He cited 2 officers who are also public servants.
Well, we just lost Frank Davis there. He was trying to explain to us why they decided to just sue 2 persons in respect of this particular matter. But let me just go through the process as we have it before us, just for the purposes of those who may not have seen it. It's titled Nanaya Oforiatta versus and DSP Bismarck Boachi Mensah or Ansa and Chief Inspector Mensah, aka Mensah, both of Accra. So I said the plaintiff entirely is a former Minister of State or former Minister for Finance and Economic Planning of the Republic of Ghana. The plaintiff is and was at all material times entitled to the possession of all that property with house number 25 Abolebu Crescent, the digital address stated here at Laboni, and says that plaintiff says that at all material times the property was at his instance under the care and control of his domestic staff, as was temporarily out of the jurisdiction on medical treatment. My colleague Sami Yafi is joined us in the studio with a copy of the rate and the statement of claim to help us go through it. Sami, what exactly, amongst other things, is the plaintiff kind of Oforiatta seeking to do?
Okay, so Mr. Oforiatta, among other things, as you mentioned, is also seeking a declaration that defendant's entry upon a declaration that defendant's entry upon and conduct of the search on his house, as you've mentioned, was trespassing and a breach of the plaintiff's right to privacy. He also demands damages for trespassing and aggrieved damages for breach of privacy and a perpetual injunction restraining the defendant, whether by themselves, agents, assigns from entering upon plaintiff's property or further breaching plaintiff's privacy or repeating similar or other conduct against the plaintiff, and also demanding some cost to be awarded by the court. So basically, that's what they are seeking in the statement of claim.
Okay, so I see in paragraph 7, for example, he talks about how his domestic staff felt. What exactly did he say now?
So the plaintiff's domestic staff were in fear and intense fear as well, looked on helplessly as the raiding team here, talking about the individuals who raided his home, searched the entire property, including but not limited to the compound, bedrooms, open spaces, kitchen, drawers, fridges, freezers, cupboard, closets, plates, and cars, among other things they found in the house. And then paragraph 8, it says a member of the raiding team who doubled as the videographer filmed with his cell phone all in the spaces of the property, including bedrooms, living rooms, and the kitchen and other private spaces. It continues. Plaintiff's domestic staff were thereby traumatized and have sustained varying degree of severe shock as a result. Plaintiff says that the conduct of the defendants and their cohorts was in the circumstances trespassing and evasion of plaintiff property and privacy rights. It continued and says that the plaintiff says further that the raid on the property, which gained notoriety both domestically and internationally, has not only exposed him to public ridicule, resentment, or scorn, but also portrayed him as a criminal. And this has negatively impacted his hard-earned reputation in the eyes of the international community. Paragraph 11 also says, through his lawyers, has sought confirmation from the offices of the National Intelligence Bureau, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the Inspector General of Police whether or not the raiding team acted at their instance or the purpose therefore, but no responses from these offices that they wrote this particular letters to. The 12 says, by reason of this matter aforesaid, the plaintiff has suffered great anxiety and distress, and in the premises has suffered loss and damage as well. Plaintiff says the defendant will not restrain from further interference with his property and privacy rights unless restrained by the court. And the final claim says, plaintiff avers further that the defendant will not compensate him for the unlawful act unless compelled to do so by the court.
I see. So when was this particular writ filed?
From the documents available here, it was done today. No, it was done on the 10th of March 2025. The 10th of March 2025.
Yes, but do you know the two defendants? I mean, DSP Bismarck Boachi Ansah and Chief Inspector Mensah, aka Mensah. Are they persons we know? Are they persons?
Not we know of, but then according to the statement of claim, these individuals were part of the raiding team that went into the house of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta to undertake this particular raid.
I see. Thank you so much, Samir Rafi. Samir Rafi is my colleague here, just helping us go through the writ of summons and statement of claim as filed by lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta, and among other things, they are asking for a declaration that the invasion was unlawful, and that they want also some damages and perpetual injunction to stop the people from further doing anything like that. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Howard has some more stories for us.
Now, the Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu has assured that the Sakumo and Tema Ramsar site will be protected. She expressed concern that encroachment on these sites has worsened, with developers continuing to build on the wetland. Speaking to the press ahead of an exercise to inspect the site, Madam Oklu stated that a task force would be deployed to safeguard the areas and ensure strict enforcement of relevant environmental regulations and existing laws.
We are going to have a task force in place which will comprise the chairman, the Forestry Commission rep, and all other stakeholders to make sure that this exercise is not going to be just a one day.
That was the Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Oklu. Now, the Managing Director of the Tema Development Company, Courage Kweku Makafu Nunekweku, has stated that all developers constructing new structures at the Tema Ramsar site have been cautioned to cease their activities. According to him, many of them have ignored the warning, which is why the exercise is taking place.
The fresh ones they are doing, those are the ones we are trying to stop them. And yesterday we were here, we wrote on the walls, stop, they will not stop. So the best thing to do now, the fresh one they are doing, pull it down. Then we are taking away some of their materials to prevent them from coming back in the night, because we understand they work day and night. Day and night. Nobody have pulled down anybody's building. No, we are not doing that. That's not the exercise we are here to do. We are here to educate them. We are here to let them understand that enough. The little that is remaining, let's protect it. That's all.
What happens to the old ones?
Is that phase 2. We will engage those who have the old one or those who have encroached and built on it already. We engage them, have that conversation, then we'll pick it up from there. We reinforce the place, get the task force to be around to give us the alert when they are coming on, update when they are coming, then we know what to do next.
That was the Managing Director of Tema Development Company, Courage Kweku Makafu Nunekweku.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Let's speak to the Regional Minister, Madam Linda Oklu, who led the exercise today. Hello, good evening, ma'am. Welcome to Eyewitness News. Such an important exercise you led today. What really was the essence of the exercise?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me? Hello? Yes, can you hear me, madam?
Yes.
Yes, I'm saying that, that was such an important exercise you did today. What really was the essence of it?
Thank you so much. First of all, greetings to your cherished listeners and viewers, especially those from Greater Accra. Today's exercise is to engage, in fact, part of our stakeholder engagement to reset the Greater Accra region to a modern, resilient, and smart city operation 24 hours. And we embark on a visit, to visit the Ramsar site. We know that a lot of the site has been encroached. So those left, we came to protect the inner core. And so that is the mission of today's visit. So that we are entering into the rainy season. So, there are certain buildings on the waterways. If we don't prevent it, my dear, and it's rich, we are going to have a national disaster. So, that is why we are embarking on those visits to make sure that the coming rain season will not have any flooding especially within the Greater Accra region.
I see. We saw bulldozers demolishing some structures, walls, etc. at the site. Those persons might have acquired the place lawfully. Is that not the case? And what remedy do you have for these people?
Thank you so much. In fact, we didn't demolish any building. We noticed that since we've been on the site to tell the people that those areas are a security zone that they shouldn't build on it. And so our attention was drawn that even after the exclusive engagement with them, they went ahead building. And so that is what we did. I mean, those fresh building, fresh first wall, not any building. So, point of correction on that. But like I said, we've had a stakeholder engagement with some of them, and then we told them, build. Exactly where they are building when it rains. By the way, it's close to the drain. I don't know whether you have footages of the exercise we had. It's close to the drain, and eventually they are taking over the drain. So, if we don't stop them and it rains, like I said, we are going to have a lot of national disaster. So that is what we are preventing. So we've engaged, told them that they should stay off that particular area, and they still went ahead building. So we decided to demolish the first wall. The first was that when we even got to the site, we noticed the work was ongoing. So that is exactly what we did. We had to demolish the first wall just to serve as a deterrent to the other developers who are not trying to cooperate with us. To let them know that, when persuasion fails, force must be applied. So we should let them know that we are not joking. That site, like I said, is a reserve site, so they should stay off that particular site. And so that is exactly what we did today.
I see. But what's the role of your assemblies in all of this? These areas obviously fall under assemblies, and this problem is persisted for a very long time. Is it a case that assemblies have failed to do their work, and so the regional minister will have to come in, or what exactly is the problem? Because this has been there for a long time, yet we have the assemblies who under whose jurisdiction these areas fall.
My dear, we noticed that a lot of some of the people have compromised, and that is what the challenges we are having. And so that is why I have to come in as a regional minister. We spoke to the assembly about 3 weeks ago to tell the people to stop work. But feedback we got was that when they told the people, they still went ahead doing whatever they have to do. So we have to come in, and that is why today you see us there. This is the responsibility of the assemblies to do that, to make sure that. But you also upon visiting, we know that and so to start whatever they are doing there. So that is why we ask some of them. We are ready for any engagement from them. CBA meet the there, and so that whatever engagement they have to have with them, we are ever ready to do that.
I see, but the role of the assembly is also still important. So what have to do what you have to do, clear some walls, etc. Tomorrow they may come back. Doesn't mean that you personally will have to come back. When are the assemblies going to take up their responsibilities and do it as we expect them to do?
Oh yes, definitely the assembly will take up their responsibility. You could see that we are yet to have DCs at the various assemblies, and as part of my oversight responsibility, I have to hold the fort for them until DCs are appointed so that they can pick it up from there. So that is what I'm doing. When the DCs are appointed, I believe they are going to take charge with whatever we started so that they will continue with it.
I see. So thanks very much on that. Of course, you are the regional minister for the capital region, and so a lot of matters obviously are on your plate every time. One promise you made to the people of the Greater Accra region is that you ensure that all street lights in the capital work in 50 days. It's been a number of days since you got sworn in. What's the update on that, please?
Oh, I'll say so far so good. We are 50% through. We'll be having press briefing very soon to let the people know exactly the the streets that we've worked on. And today, the team is around the Jubilee House working there. And so we also touch a couple of streets around. So that is exactly, but I can assure we are 50% through, hoping that before the 50 days in office, we should occupy that 70% of the street lights. We have some challenges though, but we are trying to put things in place and make sure that 50 days in office, we achieve whatever goals we want to achieve. So I'm sure that I'll give you. So I just pray that irrespective of office, hopefully 50 days in office, we should be done with at least 70% as promised.
Well, you said you fix it, so maybe you're not talking about 70%, but that's fine. So what really in your rounds and in your engagement with the people is the challenge? Sometimes we see that new street lights are installed 2-3 weeks, maximum 1 month, and they are down again. What really is the problem? Is it that the lights they fix are inferior, or what's the problem?
Because was it about 2 days ago there was our attention was drawn that some people went staying there. There's this thing in they say super also. There's a copper in it. That is what the people are interested. So when you fix, and then the photo cell. The photo cell that are on the street side. One photo cell goes for 150 Ghana cedis, 1.5 million. So if you should still 10 of them, you should know how much you are taking home. So that is the challenges we are facing. But with the implementation of the 24-hour economy, I believe, and the police in charge, we've informed the security as part of their rounds. When they are doing their night patrol, they should make sure that they also check on the street lights for us. And so these are some of the measures we are putting in place. Aside that, I would say that we are also taxing the assemblies. Sustainability is what we are looking up to. So we are also taxing the assemblies, all the 29 MMDAs, to make sure that any 40 street lights should be fixed. Or sometimes you street light, there is not just the street light is not, but we have the capacitor that is spot on it. And so they should make sure that they check all those things. We have electricians at all the assemblies. That should be their work. So we've tasked the assembly members and then the MMDAs to make sure that they fix, they repair the streets. When they're able to do this, we will not have much challenges with our street lights.
I see. Fixing the 40 ones, repairs, etc. Do they have funding for those things?
Do we have what?
Funding for the repairs and the replacement of the 40 parts.
Yes, the replacement of the it's beyond that is why we replace it. But they can repair it, like I said, the pump to replace the pump, sometimes to capacity. That is what we have. And that is what we have.
Yes, Honorable, I think we are having a very difficult line to you. I don't know where you are really, but if you could reposition yourself, we'll be very grateful, because the line is breaking up quite, seriously.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. So you may repeat. That again.
Okay. After the exercise, I'm on my way home. So
okay.
We are on the Saku area going home. That is why the service here is not that good.
No problem. I asked about funding for the repairs and replacements of the 40 parts.
Oh yes, like I said, we told the assembly members to take charge. We invited the urban roads, feeder roads, roads and highways, and some of the major roads to have been contracted by prefos to make sure that they fix it, they repair and replace the street lights. And so the feeder roads, roads, they said the assembly should take charge. In fact, when we met all the 29 district coordinators, they said they thought it's the duty of the urban roads to fix. So now that the urban roads is also saying that it's the duty of the assembly to do that, we've told them that they should make sure that when there's any with the streets out, they notice 40 streets, they should just draw attention we'll task the electricians at the assembly to make sure that whatever fault in the street lighting.
Upon going around and seeing the extent of the street light problem, will you say that the 50-day deadline you gave yourself was too ambitious and you want to revise it?
Oh, no, I don't say I have to revise. Definitely, my dear. If I hadn't, that would be my challenge. But I know very well that we are 50% true. I don't see the need of, asking for more days. No, we are meeting our target, the 50 days in office. My dear, we should make sure that majority of the streets. I'm just hoping that we'll meet our target by the 50 days in office. We'll meet our target.
Very well, and that should include a Temamoto way, which is almost always dark, in the night.
Temamoto way, because some of the roads are under construction. Those roads that the contractors intentionally took off those street lights. So all the
but Temamoto way has for a very long time not had street lights. So it's not.
I don't know where you are, but there are places that are completed, my dear. Those roads that are when you go, you see street light there. It's only those that are under construction that we are here to fix. Because when we invited the roads, they told us point blankly that the roads that are under construction, they intentionally remove the lights so that after they are done with the roads, they will refix it back. So these are some of the things we should let the public, educate the public on it.
Very well. So how about sanitation? Driving through Medina and a few other places, we see heaps of refuse around. What's the plan for that as well?
Yes, the sanitation issue, like I said, we put in measures in place. We say every last day of the month, that's the last Friday of the month, we are going to have a cleanup exercise. And last month we started with Medina. In fact, what we are doing is that we are putting a call center. We are setting up a call center that anybody that sees a heap of refuse, you should call. And then we will task the assembly to go and face. For instance, about 2 days ago, my colleague MP, the former MP, Honorable Nilante, called, and there's a heap of refuse around the Ayawa. So there's a road there, a small portion of road there, linking to the main road, and there's a heap of refuse there. In fact, he gave us a Google location, and then we called the assembly, and as I'm speaking to you, those refuse has been collected. So that is exactly what we are going to do. Any heap of, any person passing by, when you see any heap, just give us the location, and we'll tax the assembly members and the assembly to work on it. And so we've introduced the regional sanitation day. We are waiting the national sanitation day, which hopefully we are going to launch it. We are waiting for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to launch the national sanitation day so that we can merge with the regional sanitation day and see how best we are going to solve sanitation issues. We are also going to meet the service providers and see how best, because we should know some of their challenges. In fact, when we went around, we noticed that some of the task forces who works by the roads and who claims sweep the road and whatever, blah, blah, they also have challenges. They said some of them are yet to be paid, and some are owing them. The assemblies are owing them 8 months, some 2 years, 3 years. So whatever they are supposed to do, they are not doing. So we are engaging the service providers and see how best they can be paid so that they'll come back and start working on the roads. So that is it.
Very well. Thank you so much. We wish you the very best in ensuring that 70% of Accra street lights are fixed in 50 days. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister Linda Oklu, Greater Accra Regional Minister, speaking to us tonight on Eyewitness News. Earlier in the day, she led an exercise to the Ramsar site around Tema and demolished some walls and some other structures there. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Staying on related matters, the President, John Dramani Mahama, has established a task force to tackle the country's recurring flooding issues. The anti-task force is chaired by Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of Operations Stan Dogbe, with legal counsel to the President, Marietta Brew, serving as secretary. Other members include Minister for Water Resources, Works and Housing, Kenneth Gilbert J, Minister for Local Government, Ahmed Ibrahim, National Security Coordinator, DCOP, Abdul Osman Razak, and Deputy Director General of NADMO, Teddy Adi. As part of its activities, the task force conducted an aerial assessment of the flood-prone areas such as Weja, the Sakumo Ramsar site, and the Tema Fishing Harbour area. The anti-flood task force chairperson, Standobe, indicated that the exercise would be extended to other regions.
The president concerned about the perennial flooding situation that we face not only in Accra but across the country, decided to set up a special task force to start work to at least try and reduce, if not prevent, flooding within particularly the Accra metropolis as we prepare for the rains. So there's been a task force that has started working, and today we decided to go on an aerial tour so that the military and hydrology department of the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing can show us the various channels and then where we have problems with drains that are silted that we need to work on. Our job is cut out, is to find out where we have challenges, where do we have drains that are choked that we need to desilt, and then where we have channels where the rainwater flows into the sea where there are problems. We can see what engineering and mechanical solutions we can find to it. So the next step is to go on a road recce, as General said, to visit some of the areas, and see what has to be done. From the air, yes, we saw the problem, but we need to go there and then work with the Ministry of Water Resources, Ministry of Local Government, and then the 48th Engineers Regiment to begin the process of desilting, the drains that have to be desilted. Some tough decisions would have to be made, especially with walls that have been, built, blocking, the water flow in many areas, and then buildings as well that have been, from the air you see it, clearly than when you are on the ground. And would have to.
You heard Standobe, who is chairperson of the anti-flood task force established by President John Dramani Mahama. He is also Deputy Chief of Staff, or the Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of operations.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama has stated that the remaining deputy ministerial appointment will be announced by the end of the week. So far, 56 ministers and deputy ministers have been named and sworn in. Speaking at the swearing-in ceremony of a minister and deputy ministers, President Mahama reaffirmed his commitment to maintaining a lean government.
From the outset of this administration, I gave a solemn assurance to the people of Ghana that I will fulfill my promise to create a lean, efficient, cost-effective and performance-driven government. I committed to reducing the size of government from the largest ever in the history of our country to the smallest ever, while guaranteeing that every ministry or agency critical to national progress receives the necessary support to be able to fulfill its objectives. With this goal in mind, I have carefully exercised discretion in appointing deputy ministers only for ministries with comparatively heavier workloads. These include finance, agriculture, energy, roads, works and housing, tourism, interior, trade and agribusiness, education, justice, lands and natural resources, and local government, chieftaincy and religious affairs, and defense, all of which play critical roles in the growth, infrastructure development and job creation in this country. The highly demanding responsibilities in these ministries require additional support to ensure swift and effective implementation of the programs and policies that we have set ourselves. Ministries that can function effectively without deputy ministers have not been assigned any deputy minister, reaffirming our commitment to a lean and efficient government. The swearing-in of this batch of 13 deputy ministers and 1 minister of state brings us closer to achieving the full complement of ministers. This week I'll submit a final list of 4 deputy ministers to achieve the full complement of 60 ministers that we promised. We've also achieved the earliest approval of ministers by Parliament under the 4th Republic, enabling them to get to work to roll out our commitment to the people of Ghana. And for this, I wish to thank Mr. Speaker and the honourable members of Parliament. The same commitment to composing a lean government has found expression in the appointments made at the presidency so far. So far, I've appointed 27 presidential staffers to various roles and 3 persons as directors of important governmental initiatives, bringing the total number of political appointees so far to 30. This list of 30 is pending approval from the Council of State. At the last count, there were 336 political appointees at the presidency under the previous government. While we're in the process of recruiting supporting staff to enable the full functioning of our presidency, the numbers will come nowhere near the army of people that were hired under the previous government. Our commitment to a lean government is not merely about reducing the number of ministerial appointees or reducing the numbers at the presidency. It is grounded in our firm belief that government must exercise fiscal discipline by ensuring that public resources are used efficiently and responsibly. This commitment stems from a deep recognition that there must be a fair balance between government expenditure and the responsibility of citizens to fund national development and state administration through payment of their taxes.
You heard President John Dramani Mahama.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. A number of your messages that have come through. Akapol Jr. in Ahafumim says the fight being embarked upon by the Greater Accra Minister is a good one. We only hope it's not a 9-day wonder and that her own people do not turn against her as it happened to her predecessor. Mausia Abia Esther in the Volta region says, I commend the new Greater Accra Regional Minister for taking decisive action to demolish illegal structures inappropriately built on vulnerable lands, you say. The initiative safeguards public safety and environmental integrity, ensuring that our urban areas are developed in a sustainable manner. It's vital to protect our communities and infrastructure from hazards, fostering a healthier and more organized living environment for all residents. Jones Adoboy in La says, good evening, sir. Please tell the minister that the encroachers are back to the onion market at Agbogbo. She should look at that direction too. Kwesi Anfield in Wager says, I can confidently say that the current regional minister is on top of her business. She has really started on a good note. For the first time in about 6 years, street lights in and around Malam to Wager highways have been fixed. Great job. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll take a short break. We'll return with more. Don't go away.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Oh, jump on now. Go, go me. And what time when you come back, we are not hear the sound of your car. Why you buy new car? No, I not change my car. It be the same, right? It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so. This is the type of fuel where they want to. Because now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir. Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind, Seth, be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium, they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open them. Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel? Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you. Hey, then make a finish my gobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my gobe inside? I give you info. Make a fill the gobe too small. Go. Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Now, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, has revealed that the West African Gas Pipeline, WAPCO, has reduced its gas supply to Ghana to 60 million standard cubic feet per day due to outstanding debt of $20 million. He indicated that despite a reduced supply, there will be no load shedding during this period. Addressing the media, Energy Minister acknowledged the challenges faced by the country's energy sector, attributing them to a weak transmission grid.
WAPCO has curtailed gas supply to 60 mmscf because of our outstanding liability. How we can deal with some of these issues, and more importantly, how to reduce the mounting debt stock and ultimately reverse the trend and turn the sector around. That this budget is a budget that will resolve some of the problems we are engaged currently some of the challenges confronting us. No, this is the supply situation today. As you can see, supply outlook March 11, demand and everything, and you can see it. No load management will be required during the period. This is the official report I get on a daily basis. And so we are not shedding load. There is no load shedding. And so you cannot publish a load shedding timetable when you are not shedding load. Admittedly, we've inherited a very weak system. The transmission grid is very, very weak. And so the least opportunity, you see some areas going off, which means that we need to strengthen the grid. We need to improve the primary substations, inject more substations, especially around the Kumasi enclave and Ashanti region enclave. Appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us. It's a very tight, difficult situation we've inherited. We require a bit of time to be able to resolve. And a hugely indebted system. IPPs are threatening to cut power supply. WAPCO is already reduced gas supply. ENI, Nigeria Gas also threatened. We had to pay some $35 million recently in order to hold the system. And so we are determined to do whatever it takes to hold the electricity system. The challenge with the electricity system, unlike other areas, when the lights go off, everybody complains. And so you have to do everything you can to hold the system. It's tough, it's difficult, but we are determined.
So that was the Energy and Green Transitions Minister, John Abdullahi Jinapo. Now let's speak to Benjamin Insia. He's the Executive Director for Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. He's an energy analyst on his take on this matter. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. The minister says that gas supply from WAPCO is being reduced to some 60 million standard cubic feet per day. How significant is this in our power supply matters?
Thank you very much, and good evening. I think it is likely going to cause some load shedding if the minister will admit to the current challenges we are facing. Because WAPCO last year has the capacity to do about 120 million standard cubic feet, but because of our inability to pay our debt or our arrears, they've reduced to these 60. So it means that they are doing half of their capacity to this particular economy. Beyond that, also, we are losing about 50 million standard cubic feet a day because of some maintenance around the Jubilee area. So our daily need of natural gas, which is hovering around maybe 412 million standard cubic feet, we are not able to meet them. So if the minister would admit, I think that there's a problem somewhere because gas supply is in short supply compared to the demand. And if that is going to happen, it means that most of the thermal plants will not be working. And we need alternative fuel or emergency fuel from either local sources or maybe external sources in Nigeria or other areas to be able to feed into some of these combined plants. So we are in a serious challenge as we speak because WAPCO's inability to give us their full capacity means that there's a short in supply of natural gas. And the minister has also admitted that we don't have the funds to procure other liquid fuels or emergency fuels. And that also comes to the point that there's a bit of shortfall in supply of electricity. That means generation has gone down compared to a demand. And that is why most of these outages are being observed across the country.
Yeah, but the minister said that supply outstrips demand, and so because of that, there should be no doomsday and there should be no load shedding because we have more supply than demand. What do you make of that?
I think that the ministry or those giving the minister the information are not doing him good, and there may be some hidden information or information somewhere because if you are not getting the full gas supply from WAPCO or N-Gas through WAPCO to Ghana, your Jubilee is going through maintenance, and you have projected that in February we're going to lose about 47 million standard cubic feet from local sources. In March we're going to lose about 50 million standard cubic feet, and you have also told us that there are not even resources, finances to be able to procure alternative fuel, and that is even quite expensive, and you are not also able to pay our revenues. There's a problem somewhere that the minister is not making us aware of. But the evidence out there is that people are experiencing intermittent outages, and this could be caused by our inability to generate enough to meet our current demand. Yes, there may also be a lot of generation, but there must be a reserve margin. I think currently we are doing around 12 to 17% of our reserve margin, which means that some of the thermal plants, if they go into faulty or they have certain challenges, others may not be able to feed into the national grid to supply power to our various industries and our homes. So there's a problem, and the minister must admit and let us know where the problem is and how we can resolve it once and for all. We know that based on the figures they have given us, there's a shortfall with respect to natural gas into the country from the domestic source and also from the imported source from Nigeria, as well as our inability to procure alternative fuel. And that will lead to shortfall in terms of power generation.
I see, but we have excess capacity and all of that we talk about. So the fact that there's a shortfall in the supply of gas should not necessarily mean that demand should outstrip supply, because there could be other sources. So there's hydro, there's the thermal, etc. And there is a Twabo which supplies gas as well. So the fact that Nigeria or WAPCO is giving us 50% less or something like that does not necessarily mean that there should be higher demand than supply. Do you don't agree?
I do not. For example, if you look at our installation, we are doing in excess of our 5,000 megawatts. But the major problem has to do with dependable capacity, which is around 4,800. And this 4,800 combines the hydro, the solar, and other as well as the thermal. And the thermal does about 65% of our generation. So, and the thermal is where the problem now is. If we are not getting natural gas from domestic sources because of certain maintenance at Jubilee, or the FPSO going through certain maintenance, making us lose about 15 million standard cubic feet in March. And we're also getting products from Nigeria through following around Citi, where they have the capacity to do even 120 to offset the shortfall we are observing from the Jubilee area. It means that the thermal side is not giving us the full capacity that we need. And if the thermal is not giving us the full capacity we need, regardless of the hydro and the other renewables or the mini hydros, we will not be able to meet our current peak demand, which is hovering around 4,000 megawatts. So it is not about having installed capacity. Yes, you can have the installed capacity, but if the fuel is not available to generate, you cannot generate the gigawatts needed to be consumed. If you have the dependable capacity and you don't have the fuel, you don't have the natural gas, you cannot. And that is why I'm saying that based on the data published by the Energy Commission and based on recent data given by the minister himself, I think that there is a shortfall in our generation. And the minister must just admit and then find a way of us all coming together to resolve it.
I see. Thanks so much, Benjamin Isia. I appreciate your time this evening. He's an energy analyst with the executive. He's executive director for the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. He's speaking to us on the situation we have now, which is that the West African Gas Pipeline Company has reduced its supply to Ghana to 60 million standard cubic feet per day due to an outstanding debt of some 20 million US dollars. The minister has assured that there will be no load shedding because supply outstrips demand even as we speak, and so there will be no need to shed load. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Indeed, Benjamin Isia disagrees though. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll take a short break. When we return, it will be time for Citi Business News. Don't go away.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Gasaba. Smoke from firewood and charcoal is harmful and as damaging to our lungs as cigarettes. It can cause heart diseases leading to stroke and may even affect our eyesight in the long run. Grandmothers, mothers, sisters, wives, men, caterers, and everyone still cooking with charcoal, let's switch to LPG gas. The National Petroleum Authority has introduced the cylinder recirculation model in collaboration with local partners to make gas more accessible in all local communities. Whether you own a cylinder or not, join our CRM initiative. Simply show up at any exchange point near you with a small down payment to receive a filled cylinder or swap your empty one. Regular safety checks will be in place. Say ebisa musemo gas. Afeidie gasaba. Switch from firewood and charcoal cycle to gas for a better and healthier life. This message is brought to you by the National Petroleum Authority and the Ministry of Energy.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Details of our stories now. Some economists have raised concerns about the country's informal and formal sectors regarding the productivity gap which affects the overall economy. They have particularly pointed out that low productivity levels could impede broader economic growth and development. Speaking at the Old Mutual Financial Service Monitoring Debriefing meeting in Accra on Wednesday, economist Professor Patrick Esumin stressed the need to address the disparities in output and employment contributions between the two sectors.
In terms of contribution to output and GDP, the informal sector currently accounts for about a quarter of the economy, and yet it makes, in terms of employment, contribution to employment, it accounts for over 80%. So there are two potential explanations. One is that because it's informal, the information from there is very difficult to capture. So perhaps we are under capturing their contribution. Or another potential explanation is that they are just not very productive. Because if 80% employment is accounting for only a quarter of output, it tells you that perhaps the productivity there is quite low. Now, a different way of looking at the economy is to divide it by expenditure. So when output is produced, it has to be purchased.
Economist Professor Isumin also affirmed that the 2025 growth projections outlined in the national budget are realistic and aligns with economic conditions.
In 2024, the growth rate was 5.7. The target is lower. It says at least 4%, which seems like it's a little lower than the target we have in 2024. But I think in some sense it's reflective. If you look at how the growth was achieved over the first quarters, you notice that in the fourth quarter there was a deceleration of the growth. The growth rate completely reduced. And that wasn't surprising because the growth in the first 3 quarters were largely driven by the extractive sector, mining and quarrying. And those have come about because new expansions or new big oil mines have come on stream. Mining companies have come on stream. So that growth was never going to be sustained beyond those quarters. So it's more realistic to revise the growth down because third quarter growth was only 3.6.
You heard economist Professor Patrick Esumin. The Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari, has expressed confidence that the 2025 budget will address the needs of industries and the private sector, paving the way for economic growth. According to her, the government's economic policy, as outlined by Finance Minister Dr. Kassia Olatofosun, prioritizes private sector expansion, industrial growth and job creation. Speaking to Citi Business News, she opined that the budget's focus on tax reliefs, investment in infrastructure and support for local industries will ease the cost of doing business and enhance competitiveness.
This is a very great budget. This budget is a budget that has something for everybody. Agribusiness is high on the agenda. The 24-hour economy policy will soon be launched. And I think that trade, agribusiness and industry will be better for it. One important thing that I see with my short stay at the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, one thing that industry has been crying for is a meeting with Ministry of Finance and GRA. Today in the budget, the Minister for Finance has indicated that there's going to be a quarterly meeting between GRA, Ministry of Finance and the private sector. This is huge. This is huge, and I'm sure the private sector is excited.
That was the Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari. Labour consultant Austin Game has lauded the move by the government to formalize the export of Ghanaian labour as the foreign remittance inflows will help strengthen the city. While presenting the budget statement in Parliament on Tuesday, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasia Tufosin, revealed plans by the government to formalize Ghana's labor export program. Dr. Tufosin explained that this was aimed at providing structured employment opportunities for Ghanaians abroad while increasing foreign remittances. In a Citi Business News interview, Austin Game opined that the initiative was a step in the right direction as it will help address the unemployment situation.
If we are sending nurses, we are sending teachers, we are sending skilled workers, plumbers or whatever, to let's say Canada or Australia or any other country, we can tap on them. I think this is what they wanted to show what they are doing. So it's a good move when the formalization is done. And so I do not think that we will suffer those kind of things people have been referencing. You know, we have massive youth unemployment in this country. Soon the year will end, and many people are going to come out from school ready for the job market, but jobs are not available.
He had Labour consultant Austin Game. Now, governments across West Africa have been urged to adopt comprehensive tax policies that effectively harness women's contributions to national revenue mobilization. The president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation Ghana, George Ohene Kwatia, emphasizes that such policies are crucial for the region's economic advancement. Speaking at the Society of Women in Taxation West Africa International Conference in Accra, he highlighted the significant role women play in driving revenue mobilization.
Women are more than men by 1%. So if you have a greater number of a certain group of people in a community, it is just fair that they become a significant part of any process within that community. And therefore, if we are looking at revenue mobilization and socioeconomic development, then the area to look at, in my view, will be to focus on women.
President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation Ghana, George Ohene Kwatia. Meanwhile, the chairperson of the Society of Women in Taxation Ghana, ACSAM, underscored the importance of educating women on taxation to enable them to contribute more to national development.
Women play a very vital role in the country. I'm saying this because from researches made so far, women form a chunk of the population. And apart from that, when they come to the women's sector, the informal sector, women form a very majority of them. And from various researches that we have done, that is why we believe that as women, we must always take the interests of women, educate them, so that they understand issues on taxes. And when they understand issues of taxes, they will also contribute their aspect to tax revenue in the country.
Chairperson of the Society of Women in Taxation Ghana, ACSAM, ending Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This year, something magical is happening. A celebration of tradition, flavor, and community. Welcome to the Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025.
Taste the heart of your heritage with mouth-watering dishes from across the country like Ademe with akple, Tozafi with ayoyo soup, kokonte, apopranta, rare kwine, and many more. From rich spices to sweet treats, it's a journey for your senses. We're taking you back to your village.
Oh yes, let's recreate our age-old recipes.
But it's not just about food, you know. We're celebrating culture, connecting with family, and making memories that last a lifetime.
This March, let's come together and discover the flavors that make us who we are. The date is 29th and 30th of March 2025. The venue, Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and the time is 10 a.m. through till 6 p.m. each day.
The Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025, where food, fun, and tradition meet. See you there.
Interested vendors should call 0558 973 973 or 0205 973 973 to register. The Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 Citi FM and is proudly sponsored by Gino.
Oh, jump on now. Go, the go. Google me. And what time when you come back, we are not hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car? No, I not change my car. It be the same, right? It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so. This is the type of fuel where they want to. Cause now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir. Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind, Seth, be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium, they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open them. Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel? Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you. Hey, they make a finish my gobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my gobe inside? I give you info. Make a fill the gobe too small. Go! Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Twenty-three minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome to Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Tonight on Point Blank, the Ghana Statistical Service has disclosed that the 5.7% economic growth for the year 2024 was largely driven by data and SMS under the Information and Communication Services subsector. During the presentation of the 2025 budget, Finance Minister Dr. Kisi Latufosin stated that the 5.7% economic growth recorded in 2024 was primarily driven by illegal small-scale mining, also known as galamsey. Addressing Parliament, the government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna-Enim stated that the services sector contributed the most to the economic growth. Let's take a listen.
We have listened to the floor of Parliament for quite some time now, and also in the past couple of days. And one of the things that we see very missing in the submission of statements that have numbers in it is the source of the information and the criteria by which that information that is being submitted is being put out there. Anytime we put out a statistic and we don't go ahead to ask where are you getting the data from and how have we reached that number, it poses a challenge to users. The second reason that I want to put to the fore for our reflection is the reason why international organizations put out numbers is always not the case why national government would put out numbers, even if we are talking about the same issue. Every international organization would put out a number that has gone through some standardization across different countries to enable comparability across different countries. If a national government is putting out a statistic, the first thing you think about is the international comparison, but what you also need to think about is how does it fit your context. Honorable Speaker, I'm going to give two examples in this regard. Over the years, the International Labour Organization has come up with a variation in the measurement of unemployment. Ghana Statistical Service, by virtue of that, historically has used different measures for unemployment at a point in time where we said unemployment is simply those who didn't have work, they didn't have any work to go to, that is during the reference period, they didn't have work, they didn't have any work to go to, they were available for work and they were seeking for work. At some point, the International Labour Organization was defining this as a strict way of measuring unemployment. Over time, this measurement has been varied, and now it relaxes the seeking for job and only looks out for those who did not work, didn't have any work to go to, and were only available for work, without talking about whether the people sought for work or not. Honorable Speaker, this is the reason why we always say that anytime you see a number, think about the documentation that comes with the numbers. Another example is the measurement of food security, food insecurity. Honorable Speaker, the Food and Agriculture Organization has an 8-point scale, which it calls the Food Insecurity Experience Scale, for the measurement of food security. The World Food Programme has its extended model for measuring food insecurity, which goes beyond whether you experience hunger and so on, and begins to look at issues around the nutritional content and so on. These are two international organizations that are putting two different figures out there on food insecurity. Honorable Speaker, this is why I indicated that as a country, which of the measures do we want? We've left it to Ghana Statistical Service over the period to be publishing both measures of food insecurity simply because it is these international organizations that provide resources for the measurement of food insecurity in the country. This is one of the things that led us to think about a data revolution agenda where we would bring the Ministry of Food and Agri together and the Ministry of Health and tell us how do we want to measure food insecurity given the different policies that we want to put in place. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, as I indicated, we didn't get the buy-in of the top level of these MDAs, so we've got varying measures of food insecurity. Honorable Speaker, the last submission that I want to make on this is the selective use of statistics based on which statistic favor the argument that one is making. And this comes back to the point that I was making earlier on. Anybody who wants to see unemployment in a favorable way, Honorable Speaker, will use the strict measure of unemployment. Because once you are looking at you didn't work, you are available, you sought for work, your unemployment figure will be lower than one that leaves it to a point where you didn't work and you are not you are available, but no question on whether you sought for work or not. So there is always the selective use of statistics given how we want to use it. And that is why we are calling for a mechanism that would enable us get the other documentation around statistics and measurement and mechanisms to verify the numbers that we use. Honorable Speaker, I'm hoping this helps, but going forward, we are very much happy to further engage on the details to bring much more clarity on this. Honorable Speaker, there was a question on end-of-year GDP, end-of-year inflation, and end-of-year unemployment rate. Honorable Speaker, these three issues equally fall in line with my earlier submission. As a country, we have been very religious in producing GDP figures and inflation figures, but we have not been very religious in which GDP figure or inflation figure we're talking about. So if somebody asks, end of year GDP figure, is it the last quarter GDP figure, which is 3.6, or is the annual GDP figure, which is 5.7? And if it's end of year, if it's the last quarter GDP figure of 3.6, what does the 3.6 mean? And if it's the 5.7% throughout the year 2024, what does it mean? So we definitely need further interrogation of the numbers to have clarity in our minds whether the 3.6 is comparing the last quarter of 2023 with the last quarter of 2024. And the 5.7% is comparing the average for the entire year 2024. I pretty much like the question on the drivers of GDP in 2024. And the reason is that it's going to guide the conversation of the House of Parliament on the review of the budget. Honorable Speaker, in 2024, throughout the calendar year, the industry sector recorded the highest growth rate of 7.1%, followed by the services sector of 5.9%, and the agricultural sector growing by 2.8%. 7.1% for the industry sector, 5.9% for the services sector, and 2.8% for the agricultural sector. Honorable Speaker, as I indicated, these three broad categorizations would not tell us much if you don't look at the contributions of these three broad categorizations to the 5.7 growth rate that we saw in GDP. Of the 5.7 growth rate that we saw in GDP, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the services sector contributed the most, 2.51 percentage points of the 5.7 GDP growth rate that we saw for 2024, followed by the industry sector, which mining and quarrying is part, gold is part, which contributed 2.24% of that. The agricultural sector contributed 0.6 percentage points, and net indirect taxes contributed 0.33%. So we really need to look at further disaggregation of the 5.7 and the contribution of the various sectors. And as I said clearly, the services sector contributed the most of 2.51%. Honorable Speaker, you can drill further down, and clearly you see that within the services sector, what is driving the services sector is information and communication, and in this case is data and SMS messages that we are using. Once we are drilling down, it gives us the opportunity to influence our policies rather than using the 5.7 for monitoring purposes. Honorable Speaker, the second variable had to do with inflation, which we ended with 23.4% for 2024, keeping in mind that it went up to 23.8% and further 23.1% in February 2025. We have always put out the argument that beyond the year-on-year inflation, we also have the month-on-month inflation. And from our last release, the month-on-month inflation, that is general price increases between January and February 2025, indicated a 1.3% increase of our general goods and services. Honorable Speaker, I indicated that we have been religious with GDP and inflation, but less particular with our unemployment rates. Historically, until 2 years ago, we had measured our unemployment rate only when we do the population and housing census and the Ghana Living Standard Survey. And for once, we did the labor force survey in 2015. The periodicity of our labor force survey was at a minimum of 5 years, and as we are all aware, the population and housing census is a decennial activity. We were not able until 2022, as I said earlier on, compare unemployment rates over time simply because of the variation in the ILO measure, that is the strict and the relaxed measure that we talked about. Honorable Speaker, since the first quarter of 2022, quarterly we've deployed people to the field, and we have been able to produce quarterly unemployment rates since the first quarter of 2023. Thankfully, in the week of 24th of March, we're going to release the unemployment rate up to the last quarter of 2024. Our last figure in the mid of 2023 put our unemployment rate at about 13.1%. Honorable Speaker, I move to the question from the Honorable Member from Peru East, and I want to say a very big thank you to him for the question, because it aligns with the reorientation that is happening at the Statistical Service, and this reorientation is from two perspectives, and it also relates to the minority leaders' question. One is how we relate to local development policies, and two is how we make ourselves more relevant. Honorable Speaker, as I said, the document that we've shared with you is a clear demonstration of how we want our data and statistics to be relevant. That is why we took pains to look at the Resetting Ghana agenda, look at the focal areas that will be needing statistics, and see how we can align to the data and statistics that are needed from the Resetting Ghana agenda. I also want to mention to the minority leader that prior to this, we took the health sector medium-term policy, and we did what I mentioned earlier on, the statistical profiling of the document in there. We did the same for the Ministry of Local Government based on their urban policy. And to our surprise, most of these sector-level policy documents do not have statistical targets. And once they do not have statistical targets, there is very minimal we can do from the side of statistical service. And that is why we are calling for a national consensus on how to build the core set of data and statistics which is required for our development. So we are hoping that through this medium, we can have better and strengthened policy engagement to define the data and statistics that we need. Honorable Speaker, specifically to the issue of local empowerment proposal, I cannot say offhand whether the service is aware of it because I don't have knowledge about it. What I can say is that we support the National Development Planning Commission in their processes of empowering the MMDAs in coming up with their development documents. So invariably, we have a role in that. But again, that is more on the monitoring side of things, Honorable Speaker, rather than the policy intervening side of things. What we've done as a statistical service, Honorable Speaker, is following the population housing census, we've developed district rankings across different indicators that we can find in the previous development plan and also going forward in the long-term development plan that I talked about. Specifically, we have approached all the MMDAs to give us data in the last 15 years on their administrative data over time so that we can build some comparative data to enable us to prospectively track what we are doing. Honorable Speaker, there was a question on our engagement with ESA. I must say that we had a stronger relationship with ESA some decades ago, and that was the process where we were trying to build our capacity within the service. We've now expanded our engagement, and this was manifested during the population housing census and our ongoing surveys, where we practically engage with all the tertiary institutions across the country, where they support us in the process of conceptualization, developing of the instrument, and the conduct of the analysis after the data collection has been done. So our mandate has been expanded beyond strictly working with ESA. Honorable Speaker, there was a question on communication, and that is also pivotal to the reorientation and the data revolution interventions that we are trying to institute. Honorable Speaker, a couple of years back, we instituted the Statistical Literacy Program, which we conduct across our tertiary institutions. We also instituted the Hackathon intervention also across our tertiary institutions. And as I've demonstrated today, we're trying to make our statistics more user-friendly by looking at just the numbers from text rather than looking at the numbers from graphs and tables. And that is the reason behind we thought the Statistical Online Bank should be accepted by all of us and expanded to be used by all government agencies. Honorable Speaker, there was a question from the Honorable Member from Oti region, and the question was whether we had data on girl-child education and teenage pregnancy. Honorable Speaker, we have presented this data from the population housing census in different formats. What I didn't show today is that if you go on our Statistical Online Bank, there is what we call the Census Atlas. Once you click on the Census Atlas and you hover your mouse across the Ghana map, whatever indicator that we collected during the population housing census, you're going to get that figure for your region. Again, from the Statistical Online Bank, you get the data from all the 9 administrative districts in the Oti region. And that is what we want to do with disaggregated data. Honorable Speaker, we don't wait for 10 years to update the figures on these very key important indicators. We have adopted what we call the small area estimation, and anytime we do a survey, including our ongoing annual household income and expenditure survey, our demographic and health survey, and our living standard survey, based on the survey estimates, we are able to generate estimates for these very important statistics at the district level. And this is also updated and placed on our website. The reason why we're requesting for a co-creation is that in as much as the mandate rests with us as a statistical office to be producing statistics, we need to work closely with policymakers in the identification of core statistics that are needed for our development. I'll end my submission, Honorable Speaker, with one proposition. Honorable Speaker, as I indicated, we came to this House in 2019, sought the approval of the House for the passage of the Statistical Service Act 2019, Act 1003. This is what the service has been working with in the last 6 years, and we are happy to indicate that we've reached an advanced stage with our legislative instrument. Having worked with the Act for the last 5 to 6 years, we've identified areas that we need to strengthen through the legislative instrument to ensure that the Act meets its expected mandate. Honorable Speaker, I also want to gladly say a big thank you to the House for helping the Ghana Statistical Service and indeed the National Statistical System to secure an International Development Association to the tune of $150 million, Honorable Speaker, which was the basis for the conduct of the 2021 Population Housing Census and also forms the basis of the diverse statistical activities that we've been undertaking in the last 6 years. I have witnessed carefully, Honorable Speaker, the deepened use of statistics on the floor of Parliament and would want to leave this conversation by thanking honorable members for deepening the engagement with statistics, but make a plea on two perspectives. One is to build structures that would enable us to identify mechanisms for verifying the authenticity of the numbers that we work with, and secondly, building structures that would enable us to treat statistics as an integral community rather than treating statistics in a siloed perspective. Honorable Speaker, lastly, I would want to thank members who have supported us during our various dissemination processes, because that always adds to the impetus that government puts on data statistics and gets the general public to accept the statistics and use it thereafter. Honorable Speaker, I'm going to move on to situate the conversation in the context of the different dimensions of capacity development that I earlier on highlighted, which, as I indicated, can be found in different aspects of the document on activities within the data and statistics space and the Resetting Ghana agenda. So I'll make reference to various aspects of the document as I go through that. Why are we reflecting on capacity development? Honorable Speaker, 4 issues. Anytime we talk about capacity development, we always think about it from a human capacity development perspective, in as much as the Ghana Statistical Service has instituted a competency framework and ensuring that it applies to the entire national statistical system. There are other dimensions of human capacity development within the data and statistics space which we want to bring to your attention. Honorable Speaker, we currently live in a world where every digital footprint that we collectively leave, we leave behind data. So in the data and statistical community, Honorable Speaker, a strong divergence is being put between what data is and what statistics is. We are hoping that as a country we can further reflect on the distinction between what data is and what statistics is, so that we can professionally use both data and statistics as official statistics in driving our development. The 3 other areas around capacity development that I wish to bring the attention of the House to: 1, reflects the issue of financial capacity. Honorable Speaker, we've always talked about statistics needing funding. I would want to mention that ahead of the Sustainable Development Goals in 2016, there was an Addis Ababa action plan which led to how the Sustainable Development Goals will be funded. Honorable Speaker, currently at the global level, there are ongoing discussions, and the next Financing for Development Conference will be held in Seville, Spain, and that is going to define the future of the post-SDGs agenda that we're going to, as a global community, be held accountable to. Ghana Statistical Service is leading that conversation strongly because of some of the reasons why I'm permitted to engage Parliament today. At the global level, what we are doing is to change the narrative of data and statistics away from using data and statistics only for monitoring purposes, by using data and statistics, Honorable Speaker, to achieve at least 2 other reasons why we need to engage with data and statistics. One has to do with our ability to ensure that data and statistics feed into the policy space, and also data and statistics feed into the monetary space. These two other dimensions would complement the monitoring role of data and statistics. Honorable Speaker, the other area that I want to highlight with the capacity development is what we term as the system-wide engagement. The document that Honorable Speaker I've shared with, as I indicated, on page 10 of that document, I'll be glad if honorable members can avert their reflections to that page, where we highlight 12 issues. And Honorable Speaker, the one titled Activities Within the Data and Statistics Space. Thank you, Member. Honorable Speaker, I wouldn't go through all 12 points. I'll be selective on areas that I think we should all have a collective reflection on. Page 10 of the document, which has 12 points in the box. Honorable Speaker, the first point is advocating for a situation where the House of Parliament would engage with the executive arm of government so that as a country we would consciously build a national consensus on the needed core statistics for Ghana's development.
That was government statistician Professor Samuel Kobena-Enim addressing Parliament today when some questions, or when he was called to answer questions on some data points. That's how we conclude today's edition of Point Blank and Eyewitness News. Show been produced by Nana Kwabena-Wilson, Sami Weafe, Beverly London, Manuel Ayama, and Juliana Odame Osari. Technical assistance has been given by Daniel Squashi. Earlier you heard Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. My name is Salom Adunu. Up next is a playback of the Heritage Month series. Enjoy.
Citi News. We speak first. Reach our hotline on 0302 224959 and get interactive on Facebook, Citi 97.3 FM, and on Twitter at Citi 973.
94, 95, 96, 97.3 Citi FM. It doesn't get any better than that.